Hello summoners and welcome back to Mobalytics, where today we have the top 5 tips for climbing ranked with Katarina. So for this video, there is no better person to contact and collaborate with us than Hubblet. Hubblet is the highest rated and only challenger Katarina in North America, and he is absolutely an expert. He's a great guy who is also bilingual in English and Korean, so make sure you check out all of his social channels, his stream, and his YouTube, and tell him thanks for helping us out with the tips in this video. If you want to know how you stack up to Hubblet and other challenger players, make sure you check out your champion-based GPI. With our product, make sure you check out your champion-based gamer performance index. You can see it on any champion that you like to play. For example, after this video, if you pick up Katarina, maybe go check out your GPI and see how you stack up comparative to Hubblet and see what his GPI looks like on Katarina compared to yours. You can get better today right before the end of the season with Mobalytics, so check out your champion-based GPI over at mobalytics.gg, and let's get into the tips. Starting us off for tip number 1, let's talk about itemization and runes for Hubblet, what he decides to take and what you should copy and take with him. Firstly, let's go over items. Item selection is an important factor for winning the game, and Hextech Gunblade is pretty much what makes Katarina, well, Katarina. Her gameplay pattern will differ a lot both before and after Hextech Gunblade completion, and your main core items are Hextech Gunblade into Sorcerer's Shoes, Morellonomicon, Rabadon's Death Cap if the enemy has no magic resistance, but typically going Void Staff third, into Death Cap, and then Zanya's Hourglass to finish off. Katarina's AP scalings on her abilities are not that high except for her ultimate, so it is much more efficient to maximize magic penetration over some raw AP. That is why you typically will rush 3 magic penetration items right after your Hextech Gunblade, and also pay attention to that starting item. Typically, Katarina players will build a Dark Seal for early AP and Q poke damage, however most of the time starting Longsword is much better. With a Longsword start, you will get Adaptive AD, which will leave you with 0 AP in early levels, and you might think that 0 AP will give you less damage on your abilities. However, having a Dark Seal as a first item versus a Longsword as a first item will only have the Q damage difference being about 8 damage, whereas the auto attack damage difference is nearly 10, having the Longsword be much better in that regard. Both Cat's passive and Shunpo will do much more damage early game with higher AD in the early levels, so pay attention to that as well. Rune choices will be mostly the same that you see for other assassins: Electrocute into Sudden Impact, Ghost Poro and Ingenious Hunter, into Precision with Triumph and Coup de Grace. One tip is to place a Ghost Poro in an enemy jungle bush at level 1 to give you a few extra AD to start the game, having better early game all-in potential. Ingenious Hunter is something that makes his Katarina different than others. Most other Katarina players will typically take Ravenous Hunter for healing, however it's very rare to face a situation where you will heal with Ravenous Hunter and survive. In fact, if you take Ingenious Hunter, your Hextech Gunblade cooldown will reduce all the way down to 24 seconds at your maximum stacks, which gives you a better chance of killing enemies throughout the game. Of course, this also applies to your Zanya's Hourglass cooldown, so that's why it's really nice to take. For tip number 2, let's go over the early game and what you can do to secure some early solo kills. Firstly, you need to pull the wave. What this means is that let the wave push into you and don't look to try to perma-push early on and shove the wave against your opponent. You want the wave to come to you, not only because you are a weak early game champion when it comes to wave clear, but also because you want a longer lane, that way you can get an early kill around levels 2 through 4. Where Cat is most dangerous is around those level 2 to 4 marks, so if you're able to get your Shunpo, if you're able to hit your W, and then you can proc multiple different daggers and then finish off with an Ignite, you're going to be much more successful at getting that early snowball rolling. Try not to put yourself in a position to get ganked early on, play more towards your side of the lane. No matter what, you're not going to have pressure or priority, so you kind of just have to give that up. Once you have secured your early advantage, pay attention to your XP bar, because at level 6 you have a massive advantage once again. As long as you don't get interrupted, your R is deadly at level 6 and can almost solo kill anybody. For the third tip, let's go over the mid game, how you can roam more effectively, and understanding what you need to do in order to secure your lead and then push your advantage. For a champion, especially like Katarina, who is not currently one of the strongest assassins in the game, you must be able to make that transition and snowball between early into mid game. With about 2 to 3 items, what you should focus on doing is either forcing small fights, such as a 2v2 or 3v3, then looking to rotate on an objective, or go to side lanes where an enemy is pushing that you can find some quick kills. If you are able to find a solo kill, then look to shove your wave and establish vision in the jungle and the river, and then roam with your jungler, dive bot, or kill the enemy jungler. Making your transition into late game is all about making sure you have enough items, that way you still deal damage to squishies, but you're also not totally useless against tanks. You're gonna need a lot of items and be extremely fed on Katarina to carry team fights, and even sometimes that's not enough, so the mid game is vital. For tip number 4, let's go over team fights and one very useful combo that you can use in order to be more successful and output more damage. For Katarina, she can and will shine in team fights. Team fights are exactly what makes Katarina valuable, and if she is not one of the best team fight champions in all of League of Legends just because of her passive, I don't know what else is. The one caveat to this is that if you do get stunned, CC'd, locked down, silenced, or your ultimate is interrupted, she becomes much harder to make work. It's not just about getting your reset, but showing and depending how well you can use your resets is essentially determining your Katarina skill level. In teamfights, you have to focus on getting as many resets as you can, which means targeting one enemy that is guaranteed to be killed with teammates, get a reset, then move on to the backline using Shunpo, kill the enemy backline, reset, and repeat. Never engage first or cast ulti when the enemy is saving important crowd control to stop you. If they save a crowd control just for Katarina in a team fight, usually the rest of your team can damage without worrying about those big CC abilities being wasted. Lastly, let's talk about one quick combo that you can use to get better. With Katarina, you can EWQR for a fantastic burst damage as well as slick combo that you can use to instantly put out more damage and be more consistent about your rotation of spells. After watching Hubblet play, I tried this myself, and honestly I realized why was I not doing this the entire time. The reason this is really important is that you can use your animations and your abilities in a certain way that by the time your dagger lands, it's also working in combination with your ultimate. Plus when you throw a Q, you will have another dagger to dash to. So the idea is that you Shunpo first, it will be on cooldown, but then once you catch your dagger, it will be off cooldown once again, and then hey look, there's a Q dagger that you can go jump to. Finally, for tip number 5, let's talk about 3 good champions that you can pick Katarina into and look to be more successful. First up is Twisted Fate. His skills usually push the wave, so pulling the wave in the early parts of the game isn't too hard. As soon as you hit levels 2 and 3, whenever he is over the halfway line of the lane, go in with a full combo and secure an early kill. For Annie, she is similar to Twisted Fate in that she does not have any kind of built-in mobility, which means that she is a mid-lane shoving champion with the same playstyle as Twisted Fate in the early game. Just be careful of her passive stacks because when she has a stun after level 6, she does have the ability to one-shot you, but you can do the same if she doesn't have her stun. Lastly, Ahri. Ahri's matchup is all about dodging her charm, and with Katarina Shunpo, it's really easy to juke around it. As long as you hit at least one dagger and auto attack, it's almost impossible to lose the 1v1 trade unless you are very behind in health to begin with. After level 6, just be aware of her 3 dashes that will run away from you, so save the last Shunpo to chase or run away when you're fighting against Ahri using ultimate. This has been the Mobalytics top 5 quick tips for climbing ranked with Katarina. Thank you so much Hubblet for helping us out, and make sure you check out the product at mobalytics.gg. Good luck before the end of the season.